Hello, sir.
Hi.
Hello.
Would you want to tell me about presence?
Bluetooth enabled.
Just tell me next slide. Okay. You link? Yes. Are you ready?
Yes, it's ready, and just move on.
In the name of God, represent the message. Hello, I want to speak about growth of Iran's population in recent 10 years. As you see, this bar chart exposes Iran's population at 2006 to 2016. And 2006 has less population, and we have the highest population at 2016, that is around something around 18 million people. Iran's population is equivalent to 1% of total world population, and with this population, Iran ranks 17 at the list of countries by population. And population density is in Iran is 49 per kilometers and 127 per mile. The median age in Iran is 30 years old. Iran population is very diverse with lots of ethnic groups. The hugest ethnic groups in Iran are Persian and Azerbaijanis. Iran's megacities are Tehran, Mashhad, and Isfahan. That makes 6.6% of Iran's total population. Tehran with 12.5 million people, Mashhad with 2,307,177 people, and Isfahan with 1,547,164 persons. As you see, there are some Iran's personality of population, that the median age is 30 years, 1% of total world, and Iran ranks 17 in the list of countries by population. And 73.7% of population of Iran is urban. It's about something 60 million people in Iran, and Iran population is very diverse with lots of ethnic groups. Let's watch a film about Iran's population and the idea about about the Iranians that thinks less children have more fun and it's more fun for them in their life.
Less children equals a better life. This is a slogan Iranians born in the late 70s and 80s grew up with, but with a population growth rate of around 1.3%, this may have to change. How and why? Stay tuned to find out. to have or not to have children is no longer the question. With the spotlight on population growth, how many children should a couple have and what the government can do to encourage large families is more of the hot topic researchers, experts, lawmakers, and
The SSA is talking about having or not having children in Iran and the growth of population with born children in Iran or not. Great.
Less children equals a better life. This is a slogan Iranians born in the late 70s and 80s grew up with, but with a population growth rate of around 1.3%, this may have to change. How and why? Stay tuned to find out. To have or not to have children is no longer the question. With the spotlight on population growth, how many children should a couple have and what the government can do to encourage large families is more of the hot topic researchers, experts, lawmakers, and government officials are discussing. Most Iranian families are not planning on having more than 2 children, and many are happy with having only 1. The declining population growth rate has alarmed both the officials and observers, prompting them to come up with a long list of proposed measures to reverse the trend, which could lead to future social, economic, and security-related problems unless it is dealt with in time. Iran has had 2 population growth control experiences in the last 50 years. The first family planning measures were introduced by the government in the 1960s, when there was a drastic population growth. After the Islamic Revolution in 1979, the plan was abandoned until 1986. In the 1980s and 1990s, the government implemented strict family planning laws after a baby boom following the revolution, and while the country was struggling with many economic problems during and after the 8-year Iran-Iraq War. In this episode of Iran Today, we will take a closer look at the issue of population growth and talk to experts about government policies necessary to reverse the trend.
Iran has 2
Less children equals a better.
drastic growth of population. That
Less children equal.
1965.
Less children equals a better life. This is a
Another
slogan
one
Iran.
in 1979.
Less children equals a better life.
Meaning of
This
the
is a slogan
Islamic
Iran
government
in the
of
70s and 80s.
And it continue. It wants to say how governments convince the families to have more children.
Sorry, do you have the video separated?
Yes.
the question. While the country was struggling with many economic problems during and after the 8-year Iran-Iraq War. In this episode of Iran Today, we will take a closer look at the issue of population growth and talk to experts about government policies necessary to reverse the trend. On May 5th, 2014, in a meeting with the officials from Iran's Society of Midwifery, leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, once again pointed out that the country needs a higher population growth. The large number of youth is one of the advantages of the country, but if we insist on the wrong policies and measures which lead to the decrease of the number of
meeting at May of 2014, the leader of Islamic Revolution wants higher the population culture in Iran.
Fertility rate, which is 1.8, and it means it is below the replacement level, which is 2.1. Iran has implemented successfully a very good family planning program to reduce fertility rate from 6 to 1.8 within 30
Talking about the Iran's population growth that is comes 6.8 to 1.3.
And the Syrian leader has decided to address this low fertility rate.
Over the last 5 decades, Iran's population has shown several trends. According to population census results, the population of the country increased from 18,950,000 in 1956 to 25,785,000 in 1966, which shows a growth rate of around 3.1%. Iran's government took several measures to slow down the dramatic growth. And yet,
Grows and increase 3.2% of born children in Iran.
In recent years, the population growth rate in Iran has been low. Following to the family planning, the rate dropped to 1.3%. In 1980s, it was 3.9%. Then it decreased to 1.9% and later to 1.6%. This decreasing trend has drawn Iranian officials' attentions. If this trend continues, it will become a threat against the country's demographic structure and formation.
It's like that.
As a result, the
Iran's
population control plan
population decreases, and it may be a threat for Iran population in the next few years.
Amirhussein, who is currently a member of the Parliament's Health Committee, served as Iran's Minister of Health and Medical Education from 1984 to 1989 and from 1993 to 1997. He was the man behind the family planning measures that was introduced in Iran at the time and known to be one of the most successful in the world.
This went on for years. Nobody paid any attention. All of a sudden, they started innovation. But I'm afraid, and I'm sorry that we did not pay attention until His Excellency Mohammed, our great leader, he pointed to the fact that the rate of growth which was supposed to go down and reach a certain number is reached in 1991 or after a year.
After the victory of the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Iran witnessed a baby boom as family planning measures adopted by the previous regime were abandoned, leading to a population growth rate of 3.9% in 1986.
After the meaning of Islamic
According to
Revolution,
census
the
data,
Imam regime wants to grow the population and the previous regime stands completely.
We had a long war and we had a huge casualty. The people were afraid that they could not replace those that they are losing, and nobody knew how long would the war last. And at the same time, there were some clergy, that they were promoting increasing the number of population, therefore, in fire prayer and so on and so on. Therefore, the people
It's another opinion that war causes the population growth and increases.
the rate got up to 3.9%, the rate of growth.
Iranian demographers have also expressed concern over the declining population growth rate. Iran's population is now over 77.5 million. In 2010, 1,363,542 babies were born. With a slight growth the next year, the country welcomed 1,382,229 newborns. And finally, in 2012, the number reached 1,421,689.
The current situation is not considered as a demographic crisis or challenge. We do not need to adopt any measures as we are not facing a demographic crisis. In addition, we do not need to develop emergency plans. I think we have two main problems which may create crisis in the future. Firstly, we have the 1980s generation that is the current active population in the country. Issues concerning this generation's employment and job security may become controversial.
Generation may cause the crisis in few years and
The period from 2006 to 2012, the country's population has shown a slow growth of only 5 million.
after the war
Leader of the
and
Islamic
excluding,
Revolution.
it's just 5 million growth of people in Iran that it's up.
Population growth rate
The growth
in
of
the country was high. For instance, in the past, it was 3.9, 3.4, or 3.2%. Currently, it is around 1.27%.
On May 20th, 2014, Ayatollah Khamenei, leader of the Islamic Revolution, introduced general policies on population growth, emphasizing on measures to increase the fertility rate. Some of these policies are increasing the fertility rate to above replacement levels, facilitating marriage and encouraging families to have more children, providing mothers with proper facilities during pregnancy, strengthening the foundation of the family through public education, promoting and institutionalizing an Islamic Iranian lifestyle.
Can you show that?
Through public education, promoting and institutionalizing an Islamic Iranian.
It's good. There are some general policies on population growth. As you see, they are increasing the fertility rate to above replacement level and facilitating marriage and encouraging families to have more children. Providing mothers with proper facilities during pregnancy. Strengthening the foundation of the family through public education. Promoting and institutionalizing an Islamic Iranian lifestyle. These are that policies that I said at the first of the film, that government have these policies to encourage the people to have more children.
Lifestyle.
فعلا در حالت سیاست‌های کلی و حقوق کلی تمام شد.
The leader announced the general policies on population. In fact, he determined the general guidelines, policies, and practical measures. Now the administration, the parliament, and other decision-making bodies should adapt their plans to these general policies. Different aspects of the issue, like removing the obstacles to marriage, family planning, and strengthening the young workforce, have also been addressed. The theme of this year's World Population Day was investing in young people. We must exploit and preserve the youth potentials in our country. The fertility rate
US offers for the growth of population in periods.
The alarming demographic indicators prompted the Iranian government to introduce certain initiatives to boost population growth.
قوانینی که مانع
Abdulaziz Azizi, head of the Parliament's Committee for Social Affairs.
Following the recommendations made by the leader, we changed the Committee on Family Planning, which is affiliated to the Parliament's Social Committee, to the Committee of Family Support. All the measures taken by this committee are for supporting families and increasing the birth rate. We are working on a bill which removes all laws which deter people from having babies. It also encourages people to have children.
Parliament has been revising family planning laws to reverse the course and boost population growth.
Iran's population has increases to an alarming rate, and this is also due to people migration from their surrounding countries like Afghanistan and Iraq, and it may cause some problems in areas. Iran population have increases drastically in the last years, and now it is dropped to 2,101 according to the Deputy Health Prime Minister of Iran. Just
It was great, Amina. It was very nice. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.